Welcome back with a new lesson, 7.2 Proportion. Our lesson objective is to solve a proportion. If you remember, in our past lesson, we took something called ratio. And we told you that ratio is a comparison between two quantities. For example, this is a ratio between 5 and 16. Also, we can give another example for ratio, which is 15/48. This is another ratio. But if two ratios are equal, we can say that we have a proportion. So, the equality between two ratios is a proportion. If A over P is equal to C over D, we say that we have here a proportion. Also, we can write it in another way. A to B is equal to C to D. These two numbers in the middle, we call them the means, and these two numbers from outside, we call them the extremes. So these are the means and these are the extremes. So these two ratios, A over B and C over D, they are called a proportion if they are equal. And we can check if it is a proportion or not, which means if these two ratios are equal or not, by a cross product. So if you multiply the means together, P times C, this must be equal to the multiplication of the extremes, A times D. So by multiplying the means and multiplying the extremes, if you discover that these results are equal, you can say that these two ratios are representing a proportion. And we can use this property to solve a proportion with an unknown variable. Let us see some examples. Look at this example. Is 5/16 and 15/48 represent a proportion? To check that, we need to multiply the extremes. So 5 times 48, which is equal to 240. The means together, which is 16 times 15. And you can see that they have the same result. From these two results, we can say that 5/16 is equal to 15/48, and this represents a proportion. Now look to this example. Solve x/18 equal to 7/9. In this question, you are told that these two ratios are equal, so this is a proportion. If it is a proportion, then you can say that 9 times x, which is 9x, is equal to 18 times 7. The multiplication of means is equal to the multiplication of the extremes. From this, we can say that 9x is equal to 126. Now, solving this equation by dividing by 9 both sides, we can have x is equal to 14. Example 3, solve 4x/9 equals 12/7. Since this is a proportion, we can multiply the means. So 9 times 12 must be equal to the product of the extremes, 4x times 7. From the left hand side, we can say that we have 108 is equal to 28x. To solve this simple equation, divide by 28 both sides, then you will get that x is equal to 3 and 86/100th. And this is the solution for this proportion. Example 4. If a welding rods cost $75 per 50 pounds, how much would 75 pounds cost? To solve this problem, we need to make a proportion because $75 is the cost for 50 pounds, and the amount of money will raise in the same ratio with the amount of pounds. So if we have 75 pounds, what the cost would be? To solve this proportion, we will multiply the means and make them equal to the product of the extremes. So 50x will be equal to 75 times 75, and x is going to be equal to 75 times 75. All will be divided by 50, and this is going to be equal to $112.50. By this, we reach the end of our lesson. Thank you.